ticks, not the deer ticks, because it's the deer ticks that we're most concerned about to carry Lyme disease, and that's what we're going to talk about, because this is something that I think is really scaring a lot of people because it's been in the news.
It's getting so much attention. So for whatever reason, we're seeing a lot of a buzz this season about ticks and Lyme disease, and that's probably for a number of reasons. Number one, we're seeing dramatic increases in tick populations, and where we used to think that ticks lived in, you know, very isolated sort of areas, and we didn't really have to worry about it so much. In the last few years, that is not the case.
No.
They are master hitchhikers. They're sort of hitchhiking on the backs of animals and birds, and they're finding locations everywhere now. They're pretty pervasive in Ontario. Dog ticks are much more common, so don't panic if you see a tick. I really dislike ticks. They're probably my...
Well, it is kind of gross, right? Like, I mean, they burrow into you and then they suck your blood and they get all big, and it's not very nice. We're going to give you an idea of an option of what you can put on you to sort of avoid ticks.
And how to avoid it, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, the thing is, we are coming to a season where people are gardening and hiking and camping, and there's all this buzz and fear-mongering about ticks and Lyme disease, and do you really need to avoid those things? And you don't have to avoid them. You just have to be careful, and you just have to be smart. So first, the best way to prevent them is to avoid them. They tend to like wooded areas and long grasses and bushes and wet areas like ponds and marshes and that kind of stuff. So if you're going out in those areas, cover up, wear long pants. We camp, we hike. I get the kids to wear rain boots, which is not a stretch because my son wears rain boots every day.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, it's not a bad idea. Or just wear, you know, your socks with your hikers as well.
Yeah.
You know, you can do that. I mean, it's just being smart and thinking, and then being aware. Check yourself.
Check yourself. Light clothing helps because they're more visible. And if you've got pets, check your pets, because they are what often bring the ticks into the house. So we do tick check dances after we've been outside. You know, clothes go into the laundry and that kind of stuff. We check the dog, we check the pets, all of that kind of thing. And then I use an essential oil remedy for tick prevention. The key is if you find a tick on yourself, right now the general recommendation is not to irritate them. I know there's a lot of sort of, you know, websites and stuff that are saying douse them in essential oils or slather them in alcohol or Vaseline. Don't do that.
No.
The bacteria is transmitted through saliva. If you irritate the tick, it's more likely to salivate. So this is a tick tool. It's intended for pets. There's two sizes there, the small and the large. The idea is you almost use it like a little hammer, right? So you're going to go up to the side of the tick and sort of scoop him in there and then lift straight up with a little twist. If you don't have a tick tool, my thing is I never remember to take these tick tools with me.
That's true. You should. If you're out,
take them with you.
Take them with you. But you can also
use fine-tipped tweezers.
But you want to get close,
as close to the skin as possible, and pull gently and straight up. If you pull too hard, you'll disengage the mouthpiece, and that will stay in there.
Yeah, which isn't good.
Which is not good.
And the thing too is that you know, the deer tick is quite small.
Yes.
So it's not the easiest to spot, so you do have to be looking for them, but as soon as they do grab hold of you, they get larger, and they're easier to see. You know, and it does sound terrible, but it shouldn't stop people from going out and enjoying.
Not at all.
Just be aware of it, and then you can protect yourself. And what do you put in your natural remedy?
So there's a lot of different essential oils that people will use. The CDC actually has a link to a number of different studies that are done approving the use of certain essential oils. So my foundational three are cedar, lemongrass, and lemon balm. And geranium. Those are my three that I use.
I use geranium.
And then CDC also links thyme and rosemary oil. So I really dislike ticks, so I probably go a little overboard. I try for about 10 drops of essential oil per ounce of water. And those are my foundational three.
Okay.
Right? And then sort of I'll mix in, sometimes I'll put in some lavender, sometimes I'll put in some eucalyptus, but it smells nice.
It does. And it's actually good for bug repellent in general.
In general, yeah.
Which is great. You're not putting like the heavy chemicals on your body. And I'm going to tell you,
pets, right?
It works.
Yeah.
So I pulled, as I mentioned, there are a few ticks off the dogs, and then I use a rose geranium combination. So, and I mix it with a coconut oil, like a fraction coconut oil, so you can rub it right in.
Yes.
And since using that, I have not seen one single tick on these dogs, which is pretty incredible.
CDC recommends the use of essential oils as a natural tick repellent, right? If you don't want to use the chemical-based ones. I use water-based because I spray it on the clothes too.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. The other option, as you said, is you've mixed it with your water, so that works just as well, and you just spray it on. I mean, and you'd be surprised. So if you're doing that as you're going out, you're likely safe. Now, a lot of people have, because the symptoms for Lyme disease can be so different between people. There's been, and we don't have much time, but just quickly, like a lot of people say that we're not properly diagnosing Lyme disease in Canada. But I do think now people are more and more aware of it.
Yes, so we're seeing an increased rate of the diagnosis of Lyme disease, and whether that's because there's, you know, it's probably a combination of the increased rates of ticks carrying Lyme, right? So you have to be bitten by a deer tick, the black-legged tick, and it has to be infected. So not all ticks are infected.
No.
So don't panic. But yeah, the symptoms, you know, the traditional symptoms that we used to sort of think of with Lyme disease, the bullseye rash and fevers and headaches and swollen lymph nodes and joint pain, usually those symptoms would present a couple of days to a couple of weeks after. The problem is different. It looks different in different people.
It sure does.
And often people don't even know they've been bitten. So when you go to the doctor with this random collection of symptoms, it's still not one of the first things that we think about.
No, it's not. But let them know that you've been out hiking, that you live near, you know, wetlands or whatever it happens to be, and it'll help. Avril Lavigne actually very ill with Lyme disease.
Really?
Yes, yes. It was quite the story, but because it took them a long time to diagnose it for her. So there you go. Anyway, thanks, Shelly. This is a really good topic, and you know, do a natural remedy. For more information, you can go to check out Shelly and Tyler up at Full Circle. And for their website, it's FullCircleHealthcare.ca. Thank you very much. I shouldn't after either, after all these years of having you on here, but sometimes we draw a blank. So thank you for that, and really good information, and there's ways to protect yourself, so do that if you're heading outdoors. We'll be right back here on Hamilton Life.